go to whoever is in the line of work that you like and just be like, I will sweep your floor. I will sit. I don't know if you ever heard the story of Chris Sacca. He got his position by offering to take notes at Google. He just saw on the company calendar where the meetings were and just showed up. He's like, I'm here to take notes.
Yeah. Well, this comes back to the hustle too. Even me in my position, I have college students reach out and say, what can I do to get in the room with someone, or what can I do to grab coffee? And I think it comes back to that, like you said, finding a way to add value, even if it's simple. Even if it's sweeping the floor, you're in the room, you're absorbing, and then that gives you the opportunity to interact.
And if you're too proud to sweep the floor, if you're too proud to get coffee, you are too proud to start a business, because it's all of that.
The dream is absolutely free. The hustle is so separate.
That hunger to be more, to do more, to give more.
You've got to go put in the work.
Success takes time.
What do I want to do every day for the rest of my life? Do that.
Brought to you by Mati Energy, it's The Healthy Hustle, a show where we interview today's movers and shakers, influencers, and entrepreneurs. Get an inside look into their stories and how they hustled to get to where they are today.
Hustle is waking up one day, the day before you die, and realizing you gave it your all, emotionally and executionally, in theory and strategy and in execution.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are here with Daniel Swimm, an entrepreneur and founder of two Durham-based e-commerce businesses, Grow Fragrance and Candle Science. Daniel, thank you so much for coming in today, man. I'm super stoked to have you in. How are you doing today, brother?
I'm doing really well. Thanks for having me, and I'm happy to be here.
Oh, yeah, man. So to get things kicked off, I thought it'd be fun to do a little rapid fire.
All right, let's
so
do
the
it.
audience can get a feel for what your preferences are.
Sure thing.
So I'm gonna run through 5 and just give them to me. So hard taco or soft taco?
Hard taco.
Sparkling water or still?
Still.
Scrambled or fried?
Fried.
Favorite candle scent?
It's like I can't decide. They're all my children. I love it all. I really do. I love, woody, ambery stuff. I love green, grassy stuff.
All across the board.
Yeah, I just can't make a decision like that.
And maybe even tougher, favorite fragrance.
Yeah, I got all sorts of weird. I'm a connoisseur of smells. I've become so So just obviously all the beautiful stuff, the normal stuff, fresh air and leaves and all sorts of stuff like that. But also weird stuff like hot metal, like New York City subway, hot metal breaks, lawnmower, the green grass stuff to the bottom here.
You probably have a pretty dialed in schnoz, man.
It's pretty freaky. Like when you smell every day of your life for 15 years, it's like a muscle, and it gets really strong. Yeah. And I can just pick up, things all the time. So I've become, There's too many different smells to get judgmental about it. I'm just open to
explore.
What's that?
No, I love that. Well, and before we jump into it, I think it'd be super helpful to frame the conversation by what Candle Science and Grow do.
Yeah.
So to get things going, can you just kind of give the elevator pitch, if you will, for Candle Science and Grow?
Of course. Yeah. So Candle Science is a business that I started with my brother about 15 years ago now, which is crazy. We sell raw materials, all the different supplies that people use to make candles. And so our two kind of segments of the market are the kind of the Pinterest DIY crowd, people that make stuff at home, and then also the Etsy kind of indie brand crowd, people that make candles to sell. And so, our dad was in the candle industry, which is, if you just never thought I'd be in this industry.
Yeah.
And
before we jump into the story, let's go with Grow's rundown too, just so they know. Yeah,
of course. And so in developing, with Candle Science, a lot of what we did was developing fragrances. Mm-hmm. Obviously, fragrance is the big driver of candles and all home fragrance. And I love the stuff that we do at Candle Science, but essentially 100% of the industry is synthetic aroma chemical fragrances. And I just really wanted to develop a lot of really cool, modern, natural fragrances.
Yeah.
And sell them in the market, and there just was no market for it. And I just thought that's crazy. You look at Burt's Bees, and you look at Seventh Generation, and you look at all these, kind of mature consumer brands. would have a big time double digit, margin of natural. And I thought, there's just got to be that brand. And I was kind of waiting.
Yeah.
Nobody was starting it. So I said, I'll do it.
Go for it.
So yeah. And so, and then I'll, be bringing a lot of that stuff back to Candle Science as well.
Oh, yeah. They kind of complement each other in a way.
Yeah, it's neat. And so I get to work with, so I'm still running product development and finance for Candle Science.
Okay.
My brother has taken over more of the kind of the operations and marketing sides of that business that I was doing a little bit more. We were kind of split 50-50, and then he took over more so I could free up some time for Grow. And so,
Two super interesting concepts, right? I don't think when people think of entrepreneurship day to day, do they think about candles or fragrances? So really cool to hear, that we have someone here today that's really dove into two kind of niche industries and been able to carve out a space. And I think a great place to start is just like this entrepreneurship journey you've been on. It's been, tens of years. When you were 18 years old, was entrepreneurship the option, or what's Daniel thinking he's going to be doing?
Yeah, I really didn't know.
Yeah.
And
no, not a lot of us do.
Yeah,
right?
Kurt Vonnegut, the author, said, some of the most interesting 18-year-olds don't know what they want to do with their lives. Same for the most interesting 28-year-olds and 38-year-olds and 48-year-olds. And so, I studied math and computer science, and I always kind of had entrepreneurial leanings. My family was not big into business. I grew up in farm country. My grandfather was a farmer, which is in a way entrepreneurial.
It is, though, yeah.
Kind of the ultimate entrepreneurial job, where if you don't do it, nothing happens. And so I kind of was open to it. Then my father kind of left the farm and went into chemistry, and that's how he got a job in the candle industry. And if you'd have asked me when I was 18 years old, if I would have gone into candles, I would have ranked it 1,000 out of 1,000. Just because you're trying to make your own way in the world, and like what your dad does, it was just not.
Yeah, you kind of want to go do this your own unique thing when
totally,
actually there's an opportunity.
And so I kind of did that for a little while, and then we got to talking over kind of a Christmas break with my parents and brother, and kind of explored the opportunity. And I had been doing some stuff in finance and become a student of Warren Buffett, and heard him say you want a niche business. You want something that everyone else ignores. Yeah. You want something that if you bring it up at a cocktail party, no one asks you a follow-up question. And that is true, by the way. Grow is definitely a little sexier than Candle Science, yeah. But yeah, so that's how we got into it. Also, it had fairly low barriers to entry.
Well, so you're listening to Warren Buffett kind of preach these things to you. Your dad's in the candle business. At what point did you immediately join the two and say, "Oh, hey, my dad's here"? Or like, how did you bring those together?
Yeah, we knew. He basically said, hey, there's a couple companies that do this, and we kind of thought that they didn't do it as well as we could.
Was that because of their online presence?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Online presence, kind of the way that they supported their customers, the level of support that they did or did not give, operational efficiencies. Yeah. And so, we thought we could do it better. It's a little egotistical, but that's how all entrepreneurial journeys start.
Yeah, 100%.
You want to be humble about it, but you say, hey, I want to throw my hat in the ring. I want to give this a try. And so, we started with $15,000, and 5,000 from my dad, 5,000 from my brother, 5,000 of mine was borrowed from my dad and my brother, paid back with interest because my family's Italian, and we just, it's funny that the show's about hustle because that's what it was. We called a bunch of. We needed warehouse space, and
exactly.
We called a bunch of brokers, and we told them our budget. No one called us back. We found essentially a double wide trailer.
No kidding.
Out in the country here. We had no money for product. I had to negotiate. Consignment inventory.
You had to go to these suppliers that were giving these with $15,000.
Yeah.
I mean,
I believe me, I did not mention that we had $15,000. Just had to negotiate consignment for product, and we got our first shipment, and it was. The guy pulls up in a big tractor trailer, bumps the dock, opens it up. It's like the first time I'd ever seen the inside of a truck. Part of the entrepreneurial experience, going boldly into, what you do not know.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, where's your dock plate? Where's your fork truck? I was like, I don't even know what that stuff is, but I'm happy to move these boxes. And and so that's how it started. We were, shipping orders. We were, packing boxes. We were, purchasing. We were building the website. Back then, this is crazy. This is 15 years ago, and there was no Shopify.
No.
I mean, we were writing our own code. We were writing our own. There weren't
computer science background helping you get to that point.
Ironically, now my brother does all of our programming and has for the vast majority of the company. He has an art degree. I went to school for computer science and do a lot more of the like fragrance design and So if you'd have matched the brother to the role, you would have been wrong. We just built it up. We never borrowed money. We never took capital, and nothing against those things. We barely knew that they were there, and so we just over many years of just incremental improvements and iteration and learning and trying and hiring and
there's so many different elements to the hustle when the business is that young, right? Like you have to focus on not only fulfilling your orders, but you have to build the website, you have to do customer service, then you have to get customer acquisition. What pieces of the business, was the customer acquisition easy at that point?
I mean, in a way, there was an existing industry, and so it was out there, and search was the dominant form, and so SEO was available and affordable. So in a way, yes. But in another way, starting a business is very much in line, or at least from my point of view, of like how life works, where like it's everything all at once. It's this huge irony that you can only think about one thing at a time while you have to think of everything at the same time. And so, we would just take it one thing at a time, or try to, and create a solution and move on. And then, some amount of time you'd get back to that original decision and you'd make adjustments from what you learned. But it's very humbling, I mean, it's, a lot of the decisions you make are mistakes. And it's a lot about just kind of checking your ego and swallowing hard and accepting what you've learned.
Or that moment where the back of the truck opens up and you're like, I don't have anything to get these.
If I'm honest, I would have been an order of magnitude off in how much product that was. I thought it was like amount you could fit in the trunk of a car when I was negotiating for it. And it was the amount that you could barely fit in a semi when it came.
Oh my God.
It literally filled our warehouse so much that we had these like 18-inch aisleways, and the boxes were 20 inches wide, so you'd have to carry them over your head so that you could get them between the aisleways. So it's this real dichotomy when you're building a business, because on one hand you really need to strive for doing things really well and improving and not perfection but close. But on the other hand, you have to accept like the status on the ground, which is often pretty rough.
Yeah, no, especially when you have a product like that and you have to move that product around. You're responsible for that inventory. That's just the labor-intensive portion to the e-commerce business that often is behind the curtain.
Oh, yeah. I mean, now obviously entrepreneurialism is much more in vogue, but still a lot of people focus on what I say are electron businesses. The kind of the Tim Ferriss work from anywhere laptop businesses, and again, those are great businesses. But there's been a lot of people working on those for a long time, and so those opportunities are tougher to find. And when you move into what I call atom businesses, like where you're dealing with stuff, 1,500 SKUs, and it's a whole different story. Then you're dealing with people, then you're dealing with forklifts, and in a way it's harder, but I guess there's more to it. But also, the nice thing is that with a physical product, there's like this accepted quid pro quo where I give you the product and you give me money. Yeah. Which with electronic businesses isn't always as well defined. So you're a little bit better, you'll probably have better luck getting paid. And there's been less people trying it because it's, it's just more to it.
So the candle science story right now almost sounds too easy to me. There were some little headaches along the way, but there's this process of building this business was over how many years?
Yes, it was 15 years. Currently we are the number one company in the industry, which is crazy because we started like 100th out of 100.
And you shared a really fun stat about shipping. That
really shows. I was told that we ship more weight of product from UPS out of Durham than anybody else.
That's incredible.
Yeah, on a good day, we'll fill a 53-footer trailer, the aforementioned trailer, and then get another one.
With candle supplies,
with small boxes.
Small boxes.
Yeah. So so it's neat. We also have a distribution center in Reno, Nevada, and so we've got just dozens of employees, and it's legitimate.
Was there ever a time in the process though where you're like, candles to most people's like they're beautiful objects, but building that business might not be the sexiest thing, and what was keeping you motivated through the entire process?
I love problem solving. It's pretty typical. If you don't love problem solving, entrepreneurialism is not a good game for you. I love the people, the customers, coworkers, they drive you nuts, but you just, you form a bond with them, and they really add a lot of meaning and motivation. Surprisingly, more so even on the later stages than the early stages.
Okay.
The early stages, some of it is, proving it to yourself, accomplishing things. Then once it's kind of working, then you're working a lot in other, for other people, but, and also designing stuff. I really like,
because it is an artistic.
Yeah, but I like to design, in a very, kind of generic sense, from, a product to a workflow to an operational, the warehouse flow, the schemas on shelving, schemas in warehouses,
so that
team
problem
structure.
solving and creativity in design is more than just the product. It's the business design, the process design, and
it's everything. We've moved 10 times. My brother and I have designed a dozen offices and warehouses, and so
great point.
Yeah, and so when it was time to build a house or when it was time to do this stuff, it was like, so it's just it's just that feedback loop with reality where you think something, you gather other people's views, other people's opinions, you think about it, you try it, you see what works. And then you make an adjustment.
Yeah. And what an incredible way to kind of channel that passion that you have, which is kind of boils down to something that's a simple concept, but yet it's applied in so many diverse ways.
Yeah, I mean, you can experience really, my view is that you can experience, a lot of what the universe has to offer in very seemingly small things, if you really look carefully. And so, so it was not, it's funny, it wasn't the industry where I thought I would do it all, but it offers all those opportunities and more.
Yeah.
And so when, your question about 18-year-old, it's I think you've just got to go out and do stuff and see stuff and meet people and try things, because, there's so much out there in the world that people just don't know about. At least where I came from, it felt like you could be a doctor or a lawyer and that was about it. And there's just, and you don't know, it's kind of like falling in love. You don't know the circumstances under which you're going to get really deeply interested in something.
I love the phrase about trying something. We were talking with Pete Phipps, the founder of Arrow, a few days ago, and he hit on this exercise he did with his brother where for 30 days they shared 30 business ideas. And he was like, when you put yourself in that position, when you actually are trying to execute and putting yourself outside your comfort zone, things come that you had no idea happened. And he just so happened to have a haircut on that day where that idea came from. And I think it kind of correlates to that whole idea of just go out, do something, try something, execute.
And it gives you really some mental agility, to practice that. Derek Sivers is a great entrepreneur and author. He has a game where he'll be like, all right, start a business about guitars that's only based in Europe, where you have to employ 700 people. Now you only have 5, and it's this rapid fire where you've just got to contort your brain into all these different things and make it work. And it's a pretty good exercise for what you do.
Oh, 100%. The entrepreneurship exercise of sorts is really interesting. So you got to run us through if there's been some funny hiccups along the way with Candle Science, building a business for 15 years, any learnings?
I always joke that entrepreneurialism is like baseball, where if you bat 300, you'll go to the Hall of Fame. It's so many mistakes.
Yeah.
It's so many mistakes. It's really just about finding something that you enjoy enough to work through the mistakes.
That's a great point. Do you have any mistakes you can share with us along the?
Oh God,
the box one was good.
Yeah,
though.
kicked off. And from there, most of the mistakes stemmed from thinking I knew what was happening and not having my eyes open. You know, thinking something was obvious or thinking something was clear and not, you know, having a sufficiently open mind about, you know, things. And they generally led to, you know, not iterating enough, not, you know, trying stuff. But, oh, yeah, I mean, just, you know, products that didn't work, employees that didn't work, that's probably the toughest. Those are those, you know, people problems are always the toughest. The other ones you can get over. The people ones are the ones that, for me at least, and so I would say people problems have been the ones that have kept me up at night. Probably the only thing that's kept me up at night.
It's interesting. I mean, the trial and error of building a business. There's so many different elements to it, and I really like the moment about the truck. Bai's founder shares a story where the first shipment of Bai came on a tractor trailer, and he had to unload each box of it down onto the ground and then unload each box into his storage container. And it's just like those early days of hustle are so interesting. But so today you have Candle Science that you're still involved with a little bit, but you've also decided to go into another venture here in the Durham area, Grow Fragrance.
Yeah, so Grow, as I'd kind of mentioned, stemmed from my desire to launch a natural, you know, a plant-based, you know, non-toxic, safer option for home fragrance. Home fragrance is just this gigantic industry with all these players, and somehow it just hasn't become, you know, no one's done that. So, yeah, you know, I finally got to the point in my business career where I could really, you know, settle down and take life easy and really enjoy all that hard work. And apparently that's not how I'm wired.
So, I mean, that's interesting though, right? Because you got to this point, but I'm curious, while you were building Candle Science, was the entrepreneurship fire still lit and saying that, you know, one day I'm going to keep this going? Like, was this always in the back of your head?
Yeah. I'd love to tell you that there was this master plan, but like I'm you know, obviously I'm still, you know, my brother is totally capable and that company is totally capable of running without me, and yet I'm still in there at, you know, 7:30 in the morning, like working on that work too. Yeah, I think, you know, once you've reached a certain level of success and you realize that like that's not really what, you know, obviously it could become this score of like, you know, you want to do this or that. There is a little bit of soul searching, and you think like, well, why am I doing this stuff? You know, this is a lot of work, and it's those things that I told you, like building something, designing something, making something new, making something that people care about. You know, with Candle Science, that's you know, we feed entrepreneurship. You know, we feed people starting their own candle businesses and soap businesses, and we hear stories all the time about how people were able to quit their job and build a business, and like, you know, especially a lot of women, a lot of underrepresented people. And so that just bring a tear to your eye to be a part of that. And then also the DIY factor, the fact that, you know, these, you know, when you're making candles, people are not on their phones. They're not watching TV. They're not sitting down, you know? And so that's, and then on the Grow side, you know, similarly to Candle Science, you know, people love fragrance. It really brings a smile to their face. And, you know, we launched 6 months ago, and we get these, you know, social media, you know, DMs and emails about just, you know, the memories and the feelings, and it just, it makes you really, you know, I love to see people happy, and to think that I could, you know, with our crew and our team, like come up with something and build something with our hands that like people care about. It's really special.
It is really gratifying, and you know, we get a little taste of that at Mati too, when you meet that person that was really struggling to make it through their day and was finding a very, you know, no motivation to get it done, and then like, yo, this drink has changed my life. And when someone says that about a product that you're in the weeds with every day, you get a new affinity for it. And
totally.
That attachment is so strong.
Yeah, and I will say, shout out to Mati. I have been drinking, I don't know how many years you guys have been around, but I have been drinking Mati for a long time and loving it. And so as I've met more people,
the energy of entrepreneurs, man.
It's totally true. It does help. Every little bit helps.
It's incredible. So, and the Grow realization, did it come through idea searching? What was that process? Was there an aha moment where you said, Grow's what I want to go for? You shared the really interesting stat about the industry, But what made you look in that industry?
It was from the fragrance development side of Candle Science, and there was Candle Science was not really an aha moment, but Grow was, where it was like, gosh, why is no one doing this? Like this is such a huge opportunity, and the aha was like, I'm gonna do it, and so I just thought like. It had been long enough that I wanted to go back and start from scratch, and really be able to make all those decisions again, and go through that again. And so then we, in just kind of assessing, and then in trying to figure out what is, let's redefine our values. Let's redefine our culture. Let's lay out our strategy. What products are we going to launch? All that sort of stuff, to get, Candle Science at that point was a bigger company. And so you couldn't make huge, fast, bold, crazy decisions as much because, it was people's lives and people's livelihoods. And whereas Grow, when you were starting again from nothing, you could do anything you want again.
Which tends to be like a really compelling thing for these themes of entrepreneurship that we've been hearing from people. Being able to have that freedom in the execution is exciting. So given that you had this experience growing Candle Science, you learned a few lessons along the way. What foundation did you lay for Grow? Were you much smarter about growing with Grow?
In some ways, absolutely. There's a little lock on there. Yep. So we started with a spray, and so you're spraying. You got to prime the pump there, and spray. And so we're launching some other formats early in next year. But
it smells delicious, by the way. This is citrus cedar.
Yeah, and that's.
Oh my gosh.
It's nice because we launched 3 fragrances, and they're all almost equally selling, almost exactly 1 to 1 to 1. And then we launched some seasonal stuff as well. We've got a pine forest fragrance now for Christmas, but in many ways I was very much evolved. I certainly knew what a fork. I certainly knew what a fork truck was and a pallet jack and a dock plate. And in many ways I was, but the one big mistake that I made was that I thought that I was more evolved than I was, and so. I thought I've addressed these things. I can make some bigger, faster decisions and go from 0 to 2. And that's not how it works. You've got to do that. So it was a little bit humbling. It went, of course, so much faster and so much easier, and so many people and things, and money and resources and stuff that I didn't have to redo. But it was. I got that same, whether I wanted to or not, and apparently I did, that same just, just hands in the dirt, down deep, humbling experiences that I think are really good for your soul, Yeah. It really is, especially for somebody who's experienced even a smidge of success,
Going back to the beginning of Candle, how long did it take you to pay your dad and your brother back?
Probably a year.
A year?
Yeah. I mean, we've had something like a 55 or 60% compounded rate of growth.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Over 15 years. So we had a good,
yeah.
We started pretty strong and never gave up right through the Great Recession. You can't see it on our chart at all.
Wow. Yeah. Who would have thought that the candle demand is inelastic?
Well, yeah, it was funny. What was neat was when the economy really turned bad, a lot of people who had made candles as a hobby turned out to make them as a business.
Oh.
And so it was kind of like anti-fragile in a way, that as things got bad, our company got better. I mean, that's like one of my little theories, but it's more than just anecdotal.
Interesting. So a guy that's been in the e-commerce game for a while, built 2 businesses. I'm assuming with Grow right now, the focus is e-commerce.
It is, yeah. We sell on growfragrance.com. We sell on Amazon, primarily. That's certainly the best way to scale a business.
And it's such a hot topic in today's news. I mean, all these e-commerce brands coming online. For this generation of e-commerce entrepreneurs, what are some things you can share that might, help people in the position of wanting to build an e-commerce business?
I mean, certainly this is going to come from my own particular, sensibilities. I'm very much a generalist. I like to, whatever expertise I have, I like to spread it pretty evenly. So I would say it is nice. There are a lot of abstractions available like Shopify and like a lot of stuff like that you can. But I would just say, be open and curious about just every part of the business, and that's kind of why I like e-commerce as a kind of a generalist. Like, you got to be a product person. You have to be a marketing person. You have to be, an HR culture person. You have to be an operations person. You have to be a logistics. It's like, yes. And that's why these businesses are hard, but that's what makes them fun. And what's especially neat about e-commerce is, you can fix one thing with something else. In big businesses or, narrow businesses, there's just all these silos. And here, you can fix something with shipping, that it's actually an issue with product, or you can fix something with customer service that's an issue with shipping. And so if you really have this global mindset, but yeah, just pay attention, pay attention to the way the best people are doing just every little thing, the way they ship, the way they, thank you for your business, the way they acquire you, the way you first find out about a new business, the way that when you make that decision to do business, especially being not Amazon, you've kind of got a big burden to why should I give my credit card to somebody that's not Amazon? But
Prime's too easy.
Yeah, I know. But fortunately, that segment I think is growing pretty well and will continue to. But yeah, just and when in doubt, I always say to people young starting out, like, just offer your time. Just go to, and I'm not saying me, but go to, I'm joking, like, go to whoever is in the line of work that you like and just be like, I will sweep your floor. I will sit. I don't know if you ever heard the story of Chris Sacca. One of the best venture capitalists in ever. I think literally the best venture capitalist ever in terms of rate of return. He got his position by offering to take notes at Google. He just saw on the company calendar where the meetings were and just showed up. He's like, I'm here to take notes.
Yeah. Well, this comes back to the hustle too. Even me in my position, I have college students reach out and say, what can I do to get in the room with someone, or what can I do to grab coffee? And I think it comes back to like you said, finding a way to add value, even if it's simple.
Yeah.
Even if it's sweeping the floor. You're in the room, you're absorbing, and then that gives you the opportunity to interact.
And if you're too proud to sweep the floor, if you're too proud to get coffee, you are too proud to start a business. Because it's all of that. It's all of that and more. And if you're worried about how that presents, you need to get over that first. That's your first order of business.
You're never too big to pack orders. You're never too big to go work at the warehouse. And when it comes to e-commerce, you find yourself doing all those different things.
Oh yeah, I mean, you're, especially as a founder, you're arbitraging all those things. Whatever the weak point is, and there's always a weak point. So yeah, you just I would say be very comprehensive. Pay attention to people that do it well. Be curious about every little thing. There's no part of this business that I wouldn't be willing to have a 4-hour conversation about. I just love every aspect. And one thing that especially to younger people, they think, well, that doesn't sound that interesting. The love of in a lot of these ways is kind of more like an arranged marriage than a love at first sight. I always say it's not like, oh my God, from across the room, it's like, oh, shipping. Oh, I love shipping. Oh, it's more like an arranged marriage where you're like, okay, well, we're going to have to, make this work. And then over some amount of time, you're like, man, I love shipping. So it's at least the way that, a westernized person would understand it.
I love that so much. Oh my gosh. So, being, in a leadership role, it sounds like, culture has been a big thing for you. Sounds like you have some great design skills. What would you say in your entrepreneurship?
I said I like design.
I would say, there's some talent, it seems like, in the organizations you've built. What would you say have been some underlying of your best skills and worst skills throughout your time as an entrepreneur?
I will, as I said, being something of a generalist, I will say that my skills are very general. I'm pretty good at problem solving, but that's mainly just a mental discipline of, keeping your cool and keeping your mind clear. I would say it's the real basic stuff. It's the kindergarten stuff. It's, be nice to people. It's work hard. It's, keep your cool.
Well, it's the fundamentals too,
yeah,
right?
It's just, that's the stuff, if you've got, I always say you have to be smart enough.
Yeah.
And most people are smart enough. Most of the people that you see around, town or listening to this podcast are smart enough. And so beyond that, it's just those, in curiosity, you've got to be willing to just dig in.
Yeah.
But if you're nice, if you work hard, if you're curious, if you can check your ego, and you can just try stuff, and then you have to be patient. This is not a get rich quick scheme. It takes a long time. And you see headlines about people, Instagram, $1 billion in 20 months. And that's great. But I always joke that that's the that is to entrepreneurs what magazines are to young girls. It's that's not how people look. That's not the rule. And so, and if you're not committed to that kind of, experience for that kind of time, that's fine. Don't do it.
It is fine. Yeah. You don't have to force yourself into
don't
it.
fake it. Don't do something else. Life is too short. But if you're open to it and you're willing to try and it's not going to feel, I always say when you're doing it right, things still don't feel all that great. No. All that, you hear somebody say, well, it was pretty easy. It was oh man, I never felt that way. But looking back objectively, we did have a pretty smooth run compared to some people. So
contrasted against.
But yeah, it didn't feel smooth.
No,
not at all. It felt anything but
Every
smooth. And then you add in, working with a sibling and,
oh man,
the emotional volatility is even higher.
Well, hey, you're an entrepreneur. You're also a parent. There's so many different things going on with you. The time management has to be a huge piece of it, and balancing. It is.
You do have to be really thoughtful with your time. You really have to. I think you're well advised, and this is actually a benefit to being as busy as I am. To say what is it that I'm trying to accomplish? What is it that, this offer or this option, what do I think I'm going to be, what's it going to do for me? What's it going to do for other people in the world? Do I have the capabilities? Do I have the time? How does this fit in? It's the same mechanics of business opportunity assessment.
Interesting. Yeah.
It really
correlates to life as well.
Yeah.
But like you said at the beginning, business is kind of like life, and there's all these meshes between the two.
I don't think that the Buddhists talk about you pull on one thread and the whole thing shifts. It's all connected. Everything is connected, and so the way you manage your time, the way you interface with your family, the way you interface with your coworkers, there's no we make these divisions are made up.
Yeah, they all affect your mindset, how you approach other places in your life. If one's not good, the other's not good. I agree with that 100%. And one thing to kind of wrap up here, big advice, something to share with our listeners. A guy that's been working in businesses, built businesses, someone who places a lot of emphasis on being right or having your life together in multiple ways. It seems like you're about that connection. If you had the world's attention for 5 minutes, what would you say?
It sounds, cliche, but again, it's back to basics, and it wouldn't take 5 minutes. It's, be nice and be open-minded. That's really what it's about. You realize, if you'd have told the 18-year-old me, having money is not going to make you happy, having success is not going to make you, it's like, it'd be yeah, I don't believe you. But then you grow, you get a little experience, and you realize that having a warm relationship with somebody, having, learning something new, getting a new experience, being surprised, being open-minded and getting something, seeing something new or interesting, that's as rewarding as anything else. And so, and I always say that's available to everybody today. You don't have to start a business to do that. You don't have to be succeeding to do that in business. You could be failing and so, I think especially in today's climate, I think we're all kind of experiencing what things are like when people are not always as nice and open-minded to each other. If you can't prove something, try its opposite, and being mean and being closed-minded just doesn't feel good. No. And so it's something that everybody can understand. And of course, everyone can do better, myself included. But it's a simple message.
It's a great mindset to approach most of life. So what can people look forward to from you and Grow?
So we are, Grow Fragrance is cool in that we launch a fragrance a season. And so we've kind of always got something new. As I said, we just launched the Pine Forest fragrance. We've got a really cool spring fragrance that we're excited about. And,
Can you give us the scent?
Yeah, I probably can. It's actually it's called Blackcurrant Rose. It's a fragrance from France. The French are fragrance masters, and a lot of the perfumers are French. And you meet them, and they're so impossibly cool. They make you feel like just the biggest. But yeah, it's a beautiful fragrance. When something with rose in the name, like is, I said I love everything, but that's like the one fragrance where I'm like, am I really gonna love rose? And rose is really hot right now in a lot of ways, and I just love this fragrance. So, so we're starting to do kind of cool pop-ups around town. So you can check out us, check us out on Instagram, Grow Fragrance, and. But yeah, we're always launching new fragrances, and it's really neat because when the seasons change, people connect to fragrance. Oh, yeah. At the end of winter, people want something springy. In summer, they want something like coconut. They want to be transported to the beach. And so it's really neat because everybody, even in this hectic life that we live, everybody gets kind of interested in the changing of the seasons, and it's fun to launch fragrances into that.
Together, you can kind of drive preferences. And Daniel, it is so cool to hear you're passionate about your businesses, and you've really built something special with Candle Science, and I'm so stoked to see where Grow goes. Thank you so much for coming in today. I appreciate you sharing all your insight. And hopefully, when Grow's reaching those big numbers, we'll have you back in again, and we'll talk about the journey.
It's really, really nice to be here, and Durham has just been really good to me, and just love to see the startup scene, in general, and just people going after their passions, and just always happy to offer any insights or any encouragement to people doing that.
Amen. Thank you so much, Daniel.
Appreciate it. Thank you.